It's Puma's best versus Asics fastest, a high-tech showdown of what I believe are the 4 best race shoes on the market. And between these 4 very different running experiences, the question I get all the time is, which one should I buy? Well, over the last few months, I've spent a whole lot of time running in all 4 of these shoes, and I will link to all the various past reviews in the description below. But today is about defining and separating all 4 of these shoes, because what I've discovered in my testing is that they are not simply faster or slower versions of one another, but instead they actually sit on very different parts of the racing shoe spectrum. And that's what makes this challenge so fascinating. Let's chat. Hi there, I'm Chris, a journalist who loves nothing more than cutting through the marketing hype to tell it like it really is. And today, I'm looking at these 4 elite racing shoes. The Metaspeed Edge, the Deviate Nitro Elite 4, the Fast-R 3, and the Metaspeed Sky. The purpose is to define where they sit in relation to each other and to find out which is best for you. First, let's race through the facts. The Asics Metaspeed Sky Tokyo weighs in at 162 grams or 5.7 ounces in my size US 9.5, and it has a 5mm drop from 39.5mm at the rear to 34.5mm at the front. The Metaspeed Edge Tokyo has exactly the same drop and exactly the same height and weighs in at 166 grams or 5.8 ounces. The Deviate Nitro Elite 4 weighs in at 168 grams or 5.9 ounces with an 8mm drop of 40mm in the back to 32mm at the front, once again all in my US 9.5. And finally, the Fast-R 3 comes in at 170 grams or 6 ounces, but this time it's in my sized up US 10 with an 8mm drop, 40mm at the back to 32mm at the front. And to tell the truth, all 4 of these shoes are ridiculously light and incredibly high performance. They are all genuinely elite racing shoes. All 4 also have perfectly well-behaved sticky outsoles. But from here, the similarities start to disappear. The easiest way that I've come to understand these 4 shoes is on a bit of a spectrum, with the Metaspeed Sky Tokyo at one end and the Puma Fast-R 3 at the other. And in the middle sit the Metaspeed Edge and the Deviate Nitro Elite 4. Let's start with the Metaspeed Sky Tokyo, which is the softest of all 4 of these shoes. It also has the biggest sense of vertical pop, thanks to the fact that under your foot, the carbon plate is relatively flat when your foot hits the road. That flat carbon plate causes a downwards compression and pops your foot straight back upwards on decompression. That means that every step feels energetic. Every step feels kind of exciting. It feels like the shoe is trying to bounce you down the road. And for that reason, the Sky for me has traditionally been one of the most entertaining running shoes on the market. I have run full marathons and many half marathons in various Metaspeed Sky models. And the problem with this shoe is that during the final stages of those runs, during the final kilometers when you are losing form, the Metaspeed Sky does not offer as much support. That's because it's a shoe that demands really good running form. It also demands strong, healthy ankles, which I don't have right now. When you're landing on your mid-foot to forefoot, the Metaspeed Sky feels absolutely magical. But if you're heel striking, or if you're just losing form in those final few kilometers of an event, the instability in that great big slab of squishy leap foam under the carbon plate starts to become painfully obvious. So who is this shoe for? I've long thought that the Metaspeed Sky Tokyo is for runners who are confident in their running ability. They're confident in their training program. They're confident in the way they're going to perform throughout their event. It's also a really great shoe for runners chasing PBs over shorter distances, the sorts of distances when a breakdown in running form is far less likely. And of course, it's for runners who love that traditional carbon-plated pop. Now let's move one step across the spectrum to the Metaspeed Edge Tokyo. For me, this is the most comfortable shoe in this group. It feels as much like a daily trainer as it does a race shoe. It's not the softest shoe, that's still the Metaspeed Sky, but it is incredibly comfortable for any type of running, and particularly for when you pick up the pace. The Edge takes a lot of what makes the Sky so special and wraps it in a much more forgiving package. And that's because in the Edge Tokyo, that squishy, squirmy, but very high-performing Leap foam is moved to above the carbon plate. In this shoe here, you can see the brighter white foam is the Leap foam, and at the back, it becomes quite narrow. Instead, under your ankle is a much thicker, firmer layer of Turbo Plus foam, which simply makes the shoe significantly more stable. There's still lots of squishy fun under the forefoot, but the increased stability of this shoe simply means it's better at all types of landings. The angle of the carbon plate is also much steeper. It swoops downwards under your midfoot, and what that means is when you land, it squashes the foam downwards at an angle, and then you are pushed forwards at that angle rather than being popped upwards. The result is a shoe that still feels very, very fast, but also feels a lot less fussy. If I was recommending just one of the 4 shoes in today's review to as many runners as possible, it would be the Metaspeed Edge Tokyo. This is the shoe in this collection that I know will carry me through half marathons and full marathons in comfort. It's comfortable, it's forgiving, it's stable, and it's still very fast. Then we move slightly further along the spectrum to the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite 4. And this is where things become really interesting and where Puma's recent innovation really starts to shine. Because where the Metaspeed Edge Tokyo and the Deviate Nitro Elite 4 do share some similarities, the Deviate Nitro Elite 4 still feels completely different. For me, this is the firmest shoe of the 4. It's not harsh, and it's not uncomfortable. It's not overly firm, but it is firmer than the other 3, and it's firm in a really good, snappy way. It's the firmness that makes this shoe so great to run in. The entire midsole feels incredibly structured. The carbon plate is exceptionally stiff, and because of that, instead of bounce from a squishy foam, you get spring from a firmer midsole. The Metaspeed Sky pops upwards, the Metaspeed Edge launches you forwards, and the Deviate Nitro Elite 4 springs you forwards like a diving board. That's the best way that I can explain the feeling of running in this shoe. Every step feels light and efficient. Every step feels economical. I've said it before, but the Deviate Nitro Elite 4s just make your feet feel a lot lighter. And importantly, the Deviate Nitro Elite 4 is the most stable race shoe in this collection. You could wear this shoe around all weekend before going to your marathon event to run in it. And because of that inherent stability, it's just a shoe that doesn't really care how you're landing. Whether you heel strike, land on your midfoot or your forefoot, it just keeps springing you forwards. And that's why I think it is such a brilliant race shoe. And that's why this shoe is currently leading the charge in terms of race shoes that I'm thinking of choosing for my upcoming Melbourne half marathon in about 6 weeks' time. And then we finally arrive at the Puma Fast-R 3. If the Sky is about bounce and the Edge is about launching you forward and the DNE4 is about springing you forward, the Fast-R 3 is about extreme propulsion. This shoe wants your body to move forwards fast. It's something to do with the very dense, very energetic aliphatic TPU foam, as well as the deep spoon-shaped carbon plate that pushes you forward with every toe off, and the extended plate out beyond the nose of the shoe, which gives you a final kick. It's a triple whammy. It's a whole system designed to launch you down the road, and it really works. Every time I have switched from another race shoe to the Fast-R 3 in back-to-back testing, it feels like somebody has attached a tow rope to my chest. And yes, I know how silly this sounds, but it doesn't feel like this shoe is bouncing me upwards. It doesn't feel like this shoe is springing me forwards. Instead, it feels as if something is actively pulling my body forwards when I'm running fast in the Puma Fast-R 3. And that's why, for me, the Fast-R 3 is the fastest shoe in this collection. I'm just not yet completely sure if my mere mortal body and my dodgy ankle can handle the power that this shoe puts out over a half marathon to a full marathon. And that's what I'm going to be testing over the next few weeks when it finally stops raining. And by the way, the Fast-R 3 is the only one of these 4 shoes where I went up half a size. And that's because it's just a bit narrower and I felt more comfortable in the US 10. But I would say if your feet are not too wide, it probably does fit true to size. It's just because of the width of my feet that I went up half a size, and it does feel fantastic. And the Fast-R 3 is also a surprisingly approachable shoe. As I said in my full review, which I'll link to below, I originally expected it to be some sort of elites only torture device because of the unique way that it looks. But actually, it really is a very user-friendly shoe. And actually, once you're running, it feels surprisingly stable for such a radical-looking shoe. Now, it is not an incredibly stable shoe, but it is much more stable than the Metaspeed Sky, for instance. How cool is it to be a runner these days? So if I had to rank these 4 shoes, how would I do it? First of all, the Metaspeed Sky Tokyo is the softest and bounciest with the most pronounced carbon-plated pop. The most comfortable shoe in the collection is the Metaspeed Edge Tokyo. The firmest, springiest, and lightest feeling is the Deviate Nitro Elite 4. And the fastest and most energetic and exciting is the Puma Fast-R 3. I think these 4 fantastic shoes represent 4 very different answers to the question, how do I run faster? And what's most fascinating is that each has come up with a completely different solution. So which one would you choose? Let me know in the comments below. And for a deeper dive into each of these shoes, check the review links in the description. If you've enjoyed this comparison, please do click like and subscribe. It really does help our little channel enormously. Thank you, run safe, and we will see you next week.